Greetings.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to the Master of Construction Management webinar. I'm joined here by Mr. George Welch.
Greetings. Hi, Matt.
Hello, and my name is Matt Acklin. I'm the Domestic Enrollment Manager here at NewSchool. We're here at our campus in San Diego, California, for those of you who don't know, and we're going to be doing an overview of the school, as well as the Master of Construction Management program that is completely online. So George here, he is the department chair of our construction management program. It's going to be about a 30-minute presentation. We are going to save some time towards the end for your questions and answers. There's an icon at the bottom, or it might be at the top of your screen, that has a Q&A on it. And if you could just type in your questions as we go along, using the Q&A feature. We'll save that time at the end to address those questions. And then also, if you do have any comments while the presentation is going on, feel free to use the comment section as well. But we prefer to use the Q&A section, the Q&A icon, if you can. With that being said, I am going to pass it on to George. George is going to have a chance to give you an overview of what this program is all about, and then I will join in a little bit later to give you an overview of the admissions process and financial aid.
Terrific. I'm going to introduce one other person who's here in the room with us, and that's Michelle Newfield. She's doing our, she's the director, and so if there are chat questions, you should be able to, she might be able to answer those. And, but we do want you to use the Q&A so we can capture all of those questions and do a positive answer at the end. Michelle, do you want to switch us to the slide deck? We're going to get small now. Let me do this. And there we go. So I have a couple little things I have to do here in order to make this all work. But first of all, I have to be able to push the right buttons. There we go. So you should be seeing our Master's of Construction Management slide deck on your screen, and I'm up in the corner. I believe you can take my picture and move me around if you'd like, and that would be fine. So I have to touch in the middle of the screen here to get control, and I should have control now, but I'm not getting it. There we go. So that's me on the top. I'm the faculty chair of the Construction Management program here at NewSchool. Both the bachelor's program, which is on ground here and on campus, and the master's, which we teach in a 100% online mode. I've been involved here at NewSchool since 2008, and I think that we have a fantastic program. I'm going to say the best way that I can tell you that to back up that claim is we've had 100% job placement with our graduates. So I think the industry is looking for us, and we are meeting the industry's requirements as we go forward. So as we go through this today, we're going to talk a little bit about NewSchool first, so you understand. We're located here in downtown San Diego, and Marvin Malika, who is our new president, he's joined us at the beginning of this year. Fantastic gentleman who is well known in the architectural and the architectural education industries. He was the past president of the AIA International, and he was helping us all focus on what we are trying to do in a design-minded school. So here's one of his statements that he's known for. As architects and designers, we have such a special way of seeing the world. What we do is valuable to the rest of the world. And that comment on seeing the world is something that's very important to us here at NewSchool, because we have the mission of nurturing and inspiring design-minded students. You're going to hear me over and over say this: design-minded and design thinking. And those two elements, I think, are real strong attributes of our graduates. We try to think in a different way than the typical business or scientific or engineering thinking goes. And our design thinking is something we work on throughout our programs here at school. And speaking of our programs, we offer both undergraduate and master's programs in architecture. We offer undergraduate and master's programs in construction management. And we offer in the design school, we have interior architecture, we have product design, and we have media design. So it's the confluence of all of these different design methodologies that come together that help us to build these design-minded students. So our philosophy is rooted in this concept of design thinking. We focus on preparation for practice, and we spend a lot of time on project-based learning. As we go further through this presentation, you're going to find that in the modules that we offer for the master's program, almost every course is a team project that needs to be put together. So understanding how to be a team member, understanding that it's the projects that we work together on that give us the skills to lead those teams in the future. And you'll find that that's the pedagogy that we use throughout the school. So our curriculum is built on 4 educational pillars: preparation for practice, international reach, sustainability, and urban engagement. We're located right in the heart of East Village in downtown San Diego, and our ability to be engaged with the urban environment and the redevelopment and the development and the gentrification of our region is amazing. From my office window, I can see, I think, 8 cranes now that are under construction. So we do have the opportunity here at the school to take students who are in the class, out of the classroom and to the job site, where they can actually see what we are teaching in the classroom. The preparation for practice is all of us are going to be dealing with the practice of, I'm going to say, not just construction, but the practice of the built environment. Whether we're going to be an architect or a construction manager, an interior architect, all of those we need to prepare for practice. Our international reach is really important because we have the opportunity through the network that we belong to look at areas around the globe and for us to be able to learn how our style of practice needs to be adapted to those areas. Sustainability, we've always heard that as a buzzword. We've always heard that as, oh, well, it's included in everything. We actually focus on it here at the school. We have courses in green building. We talk about the life cycle costing of projects. All of those things are elements that we focus on in our program. So we're also pretty well, we'll touch on the award winning in a minute, but we are accredited. We have the Western Association of Schools and Colleges as our regional accreditor, and they credit the entire institution. So programmatically, we have the NAB accreditation for our architectural programs. And we have several of our paths through architecture that are accredited by NAB. There are other webinars that you can attend that talk about this integrated path to accelerated licensure in architecture, which is a new venture that we are one of 14 schools in the country that are going to be able to offer. So if you've got interest in that, check in with Matt and he can get you a link to a webinar for that. From the construction management side, we need to understand that construction managers don't design buildings. Construction managers implement designs. And one of the things that's really been great here is at NewSchool, we've been able to put teams together of undergraduate architects and construction managers. And we've gone to the Associated of Schools of Construction student competition in Reno, Nevada, 4 times now. And of those 4 trips there, we've come back as the first place team 3 times. Once in virtual design and construction, and back-to-back wins in design build. So our faculty are also award-winning. They are actively engaged in the practice. And you'll find that all of the instructors that we have in the master's program are not just academics, but are also very actively engaged in our industry through associations and through other relationships. We're career and industry focused. NewSchool is a key player in networking. San Diego, while it is a big town, is also a small town. And one of the ways that we recognize and what we teach throughout our both career services as well as our student chapters in various professional organizations is the fact that networking is a key element in being able to grow your own resume, grow your own relationships within the industry. So you see on the slide that we have a 91% job placement within 6 months of graduation. That's for the entire school. In the construction management program, we're at 100%. In many cases, the companies that are coming to our school and recruiting our students are taking our students in their 3rd year as internships and in our 4th year as part-time employees, all focused on giving them full-time employment after graduation. In our master's program, many of our students come into the program with a already employed within an industry or the industry, and by continuing their employment, they also end up accelerating their career path as they go through our master's program. So I mentioned we're located in the heart of contemporary innovation in San Diego. The school right now is located in an area called the Idea District, which stands for innovation, design, education, and arts. And it's really a central focus to how do we take and incubate all of those areas of practice within our community. I mentioned already that we're in the midst of this construction zone, and I think we are a construction laboratory for us to be able to look at for the next 10 years. So, we get the picture of my office, which is kind of nice. So this is where our building is. We're centrally located in downtown San Diego. While we talk about our location, several of our master students are located in Southern California, while others have been located all around the globe. It is interesting in that the master students who have been here in town have also participated in our student activities and are able to come utilize the library, utilize the laboratories at school. So that's not a requirement of the program, that's just a benefit of being here. So I want to talk a little bit about our mission statement, because we talked about the mission statement of the school is to nurture design-minded professionals. In the MCM program, our mission statement is to nurture ethical, design-sensitive construction managers who will lead positive change in the built environment industry. As we go into this section on the Masters of Construction Management, I must say that if I could rewrite the program and rename it, I would call it the Masters of Management in Construction, because we focus on the management principles and the management techniques that are necessary to lead the people who are doing construction management tasks in our industry. You can see the 7 different areas by which these are our program learning outcomes, and these are the things that we drive each of our courses to match up to. So we'll introduce these program learning outcomes, and we will help you develop them, and when you are finished, you should have highly developed skills in each of these areas. So let's talk a little bit about the industry, because that's always an important thing. The first question is, what is a construction manager? I've spent most of my life explaining this, but when I went to school, I went to an architectural school, and there was no such thing as a construction manager. That was the architect's responsibility to protect the owner's interest from the beginning of the project all the way through the occupancy. And what we look at in today's world is this little video clip that I'm going to show you here, which is, I'm going to show it to you if I do it the right way. Let's see. And I'm not getting the little arrow. There we go. So we know there are designers and architects who are working on designing plans. And we know there's the tradespeople who use the tools to actually physically build the building. But that construction manager, he's this person that he or she is this person who is in the midst between the designers and the tradespeople and leads the team through the process of implementing that design, all while protecting the owner's interests. So what are the employment opportunities? I think that's also a very valid question. So let's take a look at a little bit of information. The Association of General Contractors, the AGC, does an annual workforce study every year. This is the results, some of the results of the 2015 study that were just published in April of this year. If you look at this slide, you'll see that 86% of the respondents to this survey said they were having trouble filling salaried and or hourly positions both in their office and in the field. And when asked what are the job skills or what are the job titles that are worst, you can see down there that the project manager, supervisor, which is the field side of the construction management, is the highest ranking response. We also have estimating professionals, engineers, building development or business development individuals, people who know how to put a proposal together and package a proposal, and also safety officials are really highly in demand in the industry. They also asked, how would you rate the quality of the local pipeline for training new construction hourly craft or salaried professionals? In this slide, the blue bars are the professionals and the red bars are the craft. As you can see, most from average to below average is the highest ranking of these firms who responded. We look at the fact that we need to have more professionals put into positions where they can lead these firms. And that's what our Masters of Management and Construction is about. So here's another indicator that was out there was, is your firm losing construction, craft, and salaried professionals to other employers? Yes. You can see, I think it's 38% say yes in craft and 24% say yes in professionals. That's where the industry doesn't have an adequate supply of prepared individuals. And so the industry is truly going through the process of picking people from other firms. It's both happening within your area as well as outside of our area. Okay, so we've added and looked at there's a link down here at the bottom of the page. I'm not going to go to that now, but I encourage you to do it because it has a great deal of information from an organization called OneNet or ONET Online, which is the compilation of the information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics about various jobs. And this 11-9021 is the construction manager. So you can see here that they're looking at a 5% increase in the number of employment positions between 2014 and 2024. Well, that means nationwide they require 7,000 annual job openings because in addition to the growth of the industry, we also have the aging out of some of the leadership of the industry. It also shows here in California that we need about 1,780 new construction managers every year to keep that demand satisfied. So what about wages? Wages are always an interesting thing. In the blue here is nationwide and looking at the annual salaries for construction managers. And the red is in California alone. So just looking at the red, 58,000 is low wages in the construction management industry. Middle level, which would be where I would anticipate most of our master's program graduates would be, is in that $88,000 to $101,000 range. And the high level for the experienced people in construction management, that $140,000, $150,000 to $166,000 level. So it's a very highly compensated profession. Back one second. If you go to the ONET Online link that showed there, you'll be able to see more information about it and where these slides came from. So here's one other issue that came up real strongly at a Construction Management Association of America conference in Chicago. They said over the next 10 years, 40% of us in leadership are going to be gone. And that's because 17% were over 60 and 23% were over 55. And what happened is my age group ended up staying on because in most cases, they're the owners of the shares of the firm. And they needed to protect the firm during this downturn. So what we've seen, though, is that it's the level below that senior leadership that was somewhat decimated in the downturn. And that's the positions we want to educate our students in the master's program to be ready to take. And it's that succession planning that's going to be crucial for this industry as we go forward. You can see a nice snapshot of several of our graduates from the recent graduation. So, is this industry significant? We've talked already about what a construction manager is. We've talked about what those employment opportunities are. But let's just touch a little bit on the CM industry. This is the industry that builds the communities that serve people. It's vast. It touches the lives of everybody around the world. It's a very old profession. And over time, it has come from being a craft-run business to becoming a professional industry at which the leadership is able to improve the productivity of the job site. But it has a very significant impact on the overall economy. Worldwide, it's more than $3.9 trillion. It employs over 7 million people directly, and it gives rise to the steel, lumber, carpeting, and paving industry, as well as, hang on one second, I'm missing some of the bottom of the text because of the bar that keeps popping up. Okay, so let's jump to the next one. By the way, this industry is larger than the automobile and steel industry together, and housing starts is a major economic indicator of the health of the economy. Now, it's interesting because we've gone through this last 10 years during a period where we've gone from a massively high home building cycle to a very low cycle, and we haven't seen that rebound that would cause the industry to lead the growth of the economy. This is an interesting slide that shows the little light gray bars that you see on there. Those are the recessions that we've had since 1960. And you can see what happens to housing starts during each recession. But none of them have been as bad as what happened from 2006 to 2010. And if you put a trend line through this, you'd see that we normally focus around 1.5 million housing starts would be the normal rate for the industry. And we are still woefully below that, even here in 2016. This is another thing that is an interesting indicator for you to monitor. We had 310 million people in this country in the 2010 census, and the population forecast for 2060 is to be at 450,000. That's 140 million more people. And this chart looks at the number of housing starts per million citizens that needs to be done in order to meet that housing demand. And once again, if you put a trend line through there, that line is right around 7,000. We're down below 4,000 in the number that we're doing, and we're not meeting the housing needs of the existing population, and we are not in a position to be filling that need for the growing population that's happening. We're going to need to have some change in our policies that will do that. And I think we're going to see those coming in the very near future. So a couple other things. There are about 88,000 construction companies in the country. There's about 1.6 million individuals who own their own construction companies, and that can be from the individual who has his pickup truck and does small projects to this mom and pop size firm that might employ 40 or 50 different craftspeople. But annually, we spend $1 trillion on construction in the US alone. So that means 1/4 of the construction is spent in the United States. But that also means that 3/4 of the construction dollars are spent outside of the United States, and the opportunity for employment exists globally. The opportunities are there everywhere. So let's talk a little bit about the functions of what a construction manager does. We talk about estimating the project, we talk about administering contracts, managing the job site, planning and scheduling the project, monitoring the performance of the project, monitoring quality, monitoring safety, assessing and mitigating project risks. There may be one more, but it's hidden below my bar here. So each of these things are issues that construction managers need to plan, coordinate, budget, and supervise in order to provide a complete protection of the owner's interests throughout the project. So my last question is hidden down at the bottom.
Is this program viable for international students?
Oh, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. There is a, I don't know how I can make this thing go away, but it would be nice. I'll have to figure that out. So for those of you who are international students, and we had several who signed up in the RSVP for this, this is absolutely a viable program for international students. We have had students take our master's program from Djibouti, Africa, from Nigeria, from Bali in the Far East. We've had instructors who've actually taught from Kazakhstan. This program is not tied to the San Diego area. It is tied to the global situation that we all have the ability to work in. One of the things that we designed the program this way is because we wanted to design a program that really teaches you the way you're going to work. It's today's world. You're quite often going to walk into the office in the morning, open your email, and on your computer, you're going to have 5, 6, 7 emails that are all going to ask you questions. And your job is going to be to find answers to those questions through research, through knowledge acquisition, and to be able to respond to somebody with a knowledgeable, annotated method by which you can answer their question. And my hesitation there is I want to be clear that when you get to the level of middle and upper management, most people don't necessarily care what your opinion is. They care what your answer is and what it's based upon. And so understanding that research and scholarly writing are very important elements to that management and upper management style. So our online program is delivered in that asynchronous mode. And just so everybody's clear, means we're not all in the classroom at the same time, because in many cases, you're not going to all be in the office at the same time. We deliver this project in 8 modules. You can take 2 modules a quarter, and you can complete this module or the entire program in 12 months. So I'm going to show you a little clip because this is kind of talking about what the whole issue of our asynchronous delivery is. You know, you can be a construction manager here in San Diego working with a architect that's based in New York City who's hired a modeler who works out of Vietnam. And the construction engineer for the project is based in Mumbai. And yet all of you are working on a project that's going to be built in mainland China. So the odds of you sitting down across the table from each other to discuss things is very, very low. Plus, I think we picked 4 totally different time zones. So the odds of you being in the office simultaneously is also very low. That's why we try to use this asynchronous method of teaching, because it is how you're going to work. So this looks like a repeat of my previous slide, but it is that asynchronous method, and we do deliver it in 8 modules, and here's what those 8 modules look like. Each quarter, we take a module and we focus on specific areas of construction management. For most students, they will take a 6.0 course and a 6.5 course each quarter. And those are pretty well lined out so that you build upon the skills that you learn in those courses. One of the things that will happen is when you get to that final capstone project integration course, you are going to be building an entire project execution plan as a team with your classmates to be able to show that you've highly developed all of the skills that we've taught you in the other modules. When we look at the learning objectives from each of these courses and put them into a word cloud, you can see by the size of the text what are the things that we really are focusing on. Analyzing, evaluating, project, leadership, delivery, building management, construction. All of these things are what you need to be able to do to provide management guidance to the project team that you'll be involved with. So, one of the things we do at NewSchool is we do not teach a lot of software. There is software that you'll use, and it'll show up in the website and in the syllabi for each courses. You will work with the Autodesk software, which is available to you at no charge from Autodesk, which is wonderful. But in the classes, we try to focus on teaching you the methodologies, the knowledge, the process, and the analysis that you need to do to work with tools that haven't even been created yet. And the reason we do this is when I interviewed someone for the role of chair back in 2009, I asked them at the end of the interview, I said, so where do you think we're going to be in 5 years in this industry? And he thought for a minute and he said, you know, George, I haven't got the foggiest idea. He said, but 5 years ago, I didn't have an iPhone, and it's changed the way I do everything. And that's so true today. If I had based these modules in the master's program on the software that was available when we started to write them, everything would be obsolete within these courses today because of the way software is growing. But by focusing on the methodologies and the knowledge and the process and the skills of analysis, we've been able to remain current and to change the software as we move along. So, award-winning. We've talked about that a little bit. ASC is the Associated Schools of Construction, the student competition for regions 6 and 7, and that's the Mountain States regions and the Western Coastal region. Takes place every year in Reno, Nevada. And it is an intense competition. 1,700 students in 240 teams from about 40 different schools all swoop down into this town and spend 3 days in extremely competitive competition for various things. You can see a couple pictures of our teams that won first place in the design build competition in 2015 and 16. And I don't think I have a picture from the team that won our virtual design and construction in 2013, the first year we went there. But these are teams that are made up of young architecture and construction management students. And it's working together in the classroom, in the war room, and as a team that really caused these students to be able to put together a winning mindset and a winning set of skills. So I mentioned before networking, and I'll probably mention networking again because networking is one of the most important things in this industry. There are a lot of competent people out there, but people who work together and get a chance to serve the community together through things like the ACE Mentor program, through things like the Construction Management Association, or the American Society of Professional Estimators, or the Construction Specification Institute, or even the AIA, are all these professional partnerships and professional societies that we encourage our students to become engaged in. It's through those engagements and through the reputation the school has built in its competitions in Reno, that we are being recruited very hard. Last year in the fall, we had 9 major construction management companies come and hold recruiting events, both making presentations about their companies and then setting up interview workshops. This year so far, and here we are in August, I have 11 companies who are trying to get in the first week of October so they get the first crack at our students. So we've got to work that out. You can see here the list of some of the names of these companies that have been here and who I would be very proud to introduce any of our students to. They've had very, very positive results with them. So I'm going to now ask Matt to come and join me here, and we're going to let him talk a little bit about what is happening the rest of this tour.
Thank you, George. Okay, so how do we get started? How do you get enrolled into this program? I'm just going to take a few seconds here to do an overview of the application process. Again, I work in the enrollment department. Everybody who applies to NewSchool is assigned to one of our team members to help them walk them through the admissions process here at NewSchool. So your very first step, and before I say that, let me just tell you that right now we are accepting applications for October 10th. That is the next start date for this program. So if you want to get started on October 10th, your first step is to go onto our website, go to the online application, which is at the top right-hand side of the homepage, newschoolarc.edu. Once you fill out that online application, and it should really only take you about 10 minutes, you will get a personally assigned enrollment specialist. If it's a domestic applicant, we have a domestic team. If it's an international applicant, we have an international team here at NewSchool.
Let me interrupt you right there a second, because if you start in October, you'll be able to walk in June, even though you'll be finishing your last 2 modules during the summer. But 12 months from now, you will be a graduate with your master's degree.
It's a great reason to start this fall. And going back to the online application, you will get contacted by one of the enrollment specialists. They'll reach out to you either by email or by phone. They'll guide you through the rest of the process, which involves the application fee. You are required to submit an undergraduate transcript. So for this program, you need to have a bachelor's degree already completed. Generally, we're looking for at least a 2.7 grade point average. That's not a cutoff by any means. If your GPA is lower than a 2.7, we can talk to you about that and discuss some additional steps you might need to take, but by no means does that mean that you can't apply. There's a statement of purpose. That's kind of like your entrance essay, and that's just the reasons why you're interested in this program, why you feel like it's a new school, why you feel like it's a good fit for what you want to do. We do ask for a resume. That doesn't mean that you have to have construction experience to be involved in this program. But if you do have construction experience, we want to know about that. The last step, it just involves English scores, and that's specifically for the international students who are attending this webinar. There is an English language requirement, and we have English language test, and we accept the TOEFL. The minimum score is an 80, or the IELTS exam, the minimum score is a 6.0. So that's it for the application process, and now I think we have one more slide on the cost. So those are the overall costs. That's the entire cost of the program, all 4 quarters, the entire program, and including the books and supplies that might be needed as well. Federal financial aid is available. We're Title IV funded, so that means for all domestic students, that means Stafford loans. There's also some institutional scholarships that we offer as a school that are both merit and need-based. And we also have an industry scholarship. So if you do work in the construction industry or even the architecture industry, then you might be eligible for a 10% overall discount on the tuition.
So with that, I'm going to turn the computer over to Matt, and he's going to start to go through and pull up some of our questions here. So you can take that over there by you, and I'll sneak back into the frame here.
So hopefully we've addressed a number of the questions that you might have had at the beginning of this presentation, but it does look like we have a few additional questions. Well, Thomas asked, how would I go about applying at this school and what's the tuition cost for the course? And I think we've
Just showed those last two
just
slides.
showed that.
So, and of course you can call Matt directly too if you've got a question that you want to talk to him about.
Yeah, the last slide we're going to share with you is my contact information. So feel free to email me directly or give me a call, and I'll be able to talk to you specifically about your situation and what you might qualify for, and you know, guide you through that application process. Edo is a professional in construction in his country. Michelle, can you help me to learn this program?
Yep. I think we can reach out to you, you know, and you know, I've mentioned that we've had students who have taken this program from different countries, and it is quite, it's applicable no matter where you are. Now, I think that we will probably be able to, we don't know what country you're from, but we have two of our enrollment specialists who deal with international students, and we can probably put you in touch with one. But reach out to Matt at his contact information at the end, and he'll be able to connect you to somebody.
And I think one important point that I forgot is that there is no visa requirement for this program. So, you know, you can, like George was saying, you can study from anywhere in the world, and a visa is not required, a student visa is not required to enroll in the program.
So Jorge just popped up. He's in the international community of Modesto, California. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see. I mean, Modesto is easy to. It's far to commute, but the advantage of the online program is all you have to do is get to a quiet place and be able to work. Now, one thing I didn't touch on that probably is beneficial for you is what kind of effort does it take? It takes, you know, the Carnegie credit is called basically 3 hours of work for each credit. So if you have a 6-credit course, we're going to anticipate that you will spend 18 hours a week for each course for the 10 weeks of the quarter. And so that's the kind of commitment. Now, we've had students, lots of students who have done it full time, 2 courses a quarter, while working full time. It does mean a lot of personal commitment to make that happen. But I have to tell you, in the words of Paul Montgomery, when he finished it, he said, man, I feel like I've run a marathon. He says, but you know what? I feel like I ran a marathon. And so the accomplishment is well worth the effort.
A question from Jorge about, obviously, you know, if he works in construction, is that a plus? Is it a benefit?
I think it will. I mean, remember how I said I want to call it the Masters of Management in Construction? If you know the skills that the construction managers are going to use, then yes, it will help you in your understanding of how to apply the management things we teach you to working with those crews. Whereas we don't teach you how to set up form boards for a concrete pour, but we teach you how to make sure that you've got all your logistics and safety and quality management plans in place for that concrete pour to take place. So that's kind of the skill. So understanding the lingo is fine, but when we wrote the program, I actually wrote it with the concept of one of my former superintendents who was bumping up against his glass ceiling because he didn't have a master's degree. He had a degree in humanities from Notre Dame University, and it was that opportunity to go from thinking, okay, what does he know to what does he need to know to be able to become a leader in this industry? And that's how we focused the program.
Why don't we go ahead and switch the slide over to my contact information. There we go. I think we hit most of the questions and answers, but I did want to share this last slide with you guys before we close the presentation. This is my contact information. Again, I work in the enrollment department. We help you through the application process. I really encourage you to reach out to me if you are interested in applying for this October as soon as possible. We are still accepting applications, and like George said, that's a great way to get started right away, and also to participate in graduation by next spring.
Right. And if there are questions that Matt can't answer for you, he can then put you in touch with me. But we try not to confuse the direction of conversation by putting all of our stuff out there. But I see that we got a big thank you from Amanda. That was nice.
Yeah.
So
Who is this?
well, absent any other questions, I think we're pretty much ready to make a wrap. So thank you all for spending your time with us this afternoon. I hope this has been helpful, and we look forward to you becoming our students.
Yes, agreed. Thanks, and I will talk to you soon.